Hello, welcome. My name is Alex Maizuss. Welcome to Round Glass. So if you weren't here last week, then I just wanted to welcome you and invite you to maybe take a look at session 1. And also I'd like to just greet all the fathers that might be joining us today. Here in America, we're celebrating Father's Day today. So just wanted to make sure that a special greeting to all of you dads. And if you're not a father, but you're a father figure, that goes to you too. So happy Father's Day to single dads out there, to 2 dad households, to all the fathers out there. And it's so interesting because as we talk about performance, being a father could be one of those biggest performance, the biggest performance of your life, in the sense that we're always trying to do our best, right, as a parent. So just wanted to make sure that that I greet you today. And also, I'm very curious to know if you're new to Round Glass, if you're new to meditation, please write it on the chat. I'd like to welcome you as well. So last session, maybe it was last week for you, but last session, we talked a little bit and I gave a little bit of an overview about what the series was going to be about. So this is the mind, or your mind, the perpetual storyteller. And so I'm going to invite you to just kind of center in and maybe taking in a deep breath with me. And on a long exhale, just allow yourself to arrive to the moment. So this is the second session on our 5-week series. So we'll be really exploring really the world of stories, how the mind tells stories about everything. And before we even get started, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about what this world of story is, because the mind is always interpreting. It's always interpreting the moment. It's always interpreting story. So I wanted to invite you today to just tune in to the stories that might come up for you. Even as I'm speaking, there might be stories that are running through the mind. And this making meaning of the mind in any situation. So stories are only a problem. So this is really important to really remember that stories only become a problem when they're running our lives and we're not aware of them. And of course, when they're not beneficial to what we're trying to do. So it's really important to tune in and to know, is this story really beneficial or not? Is it helpful or not? And really deeply getting into the understanding that this storytelling is a natural process of the mind. And actually, what research says is that the mind the mind creates stories, and at the same time, the brain kind of starts boosting all these feel-good endorphins, right? All these endorphins, which are the feel good. And so it's almost like, even if the story is not true, even if the story is not complete, there's still a sense for really interpreting the moment. That is just a natural function. So by no means do I want to invite you to push the story away or neglect the story. This is completely the opposite. The word, if we can encapsulate this session, the word for today will be recognition. It's just about recognizing what the story is about and seeing whether it's helpful or not. And today we'll be talking about how some stories can be limiting, so the stories that are not helpful. And then the stories that are helpful will be more of a self-enhancing story. So with mindfulness, we're able to see the story for what it is. So seeing the story, and then we can evaluate it. We can kind of come into the understanding whether this is helpful or not. Is this a limiting story? Is this really allowing me to go towards my goals, or is it holding me back in some way? And in this way, we can use discernment, right? And so with these limiting stories, ways to identify them could be, for instance, words such as enough, right? I'm not good enough, or the situation is not enough, right? I don't have enough. Also the if I then, Could be another way to identify these limiting stories when we say, if I were only thinner, right? If I only had more money, if I had more time, right? And of course, all the I'm not. I'm not tall enough. I'm not fluent enough. I'm not fast enough. Right? These are all little hints in which we can recognize the limiting stories. And now, a self-enhancing story will be more along the lines: I can, I will, I am. So these are some ways in which you can kind of tap into knowing and recognizing when the mind is telling a limiting or a self-enhancing story. So I'd like to invite you to just maybe take in a couple of deep breaths, and let's do a quick check-in. And again, you can do this practice with your eyes open, your eyes closed. You can sit up, you can lie down. The idea is that you can really be as comfortable as you can. So I'll give you just a couple of moments to really tune into yourself in this way. Just beginning by noticing how you're breathing. Is the breath flowing fast? Is the breath flowing slow? Is it deep? Is it shallow? And again, there's nothing to change. With this recognizing, all we're going to do is play a little bit of detective, just noticing what comes up for you and recognizing the story for what it is, just a story, a normal process of the mind. And then just allowing yourself to really tune into yourself in the best possible way for you, giving yourself that presence that is much needed, giving yourself that little bit of attention. And seeing if perhaps you can also bring in a little bit of a sense of kindness towards the moment. So, without any judgment of whatever comes up. And if at any moment you notice that something comes up that might be difficult for the moment, it could be an emotion, a physical sensation, I do invite you to take care of yourself. So you can switch your pose, you can move out a little bit, you can open your eyes, you can get up and walk. So, really always tuning in and seeing what is needed for you. So, maybe just again, if you can, taking in a deep breath, and if that's not something that feels right for you, then just noticing the breath. If you're here, you are breathing. So, just tuning into the breath, even if it is shallow and soft. And all we're doing is really experiencing the breath. So, becoming aware that you're breathing in every time you breathe in, and that you're breathing out every time that you're breathing out. Now, just allowing the body to settle here. So, feeling the pull of gravity As the body just remains in this pose, there's not much that you have to do. There's nothing you have to change. Just knowing that you're perfect exactly as you are, not just in this moment, but in any moment. And knowing that you're doing this exactly right in the way that you need to be doing it for yourself. So, whenever you encounter judgment during this practice, the expectation of, I should be doing things a certain way, also recognizing that that's just a thought. And so, if you're with me at this moment, just allowing yourself to settle in here, perhaps feeling the weight of the body, allowing it to really safely sink into the surface, holding you. And just knowing that the earth is cradling you in this moment, becoming one with the breath, becoming one with the earth. And with each in breath, you take a little, and with each out breath, you give a little. So becoming conscious of this cycle of taking in and giving. And if you're new to meditation and you notice just the mind getting distracted, telling stories, please don't worry. That happens to all of us. And so just noticing that the mind got distracted, bringing your attention again to this moment. Bringing your attention to the sensation of the breath in the body. And here we are all together, connecting to each other by this breath, connecting to one another in this practice, connecting to yourself. And if at any moment you notice any tension or tightness in the body, just allowing the tension or the tightness to soften up. Sometimes just by paying attention to the tightness, it kind of starts to soften, but sometimes it doesn't. So if there's still tightness, even though you're paying attention, then that's all right. Just understanding that that will change on its own, just like everything else. So as you sit here, sensing the breath in the body, seeing if you can expand your attention out to sense the sensations in the body. Maybe just noticing the feet and the legs and the palms of your hands. There might be coolness or heat or tingling or numbness. Just being able to stay with that, allowing your attention to really easily just rest here in the body. And now that we're a little bit settled into the moment, settled here, I'd like to invite you into a bit of a reflection. A reflection is a process in between a meditation and a projection in some way. So I'd like to invite you to bring to mind maybe a performance event that causes you a little bit of stress. Maybe not like the highest stress ever, but there's somewhat some stressful moment when you think about this. It could be a presentation, it could be your next game, it could be your next talk. It could just be, being at home and having to do homework with the kids as well. I mean, in some ways, we're always trying to do our best. So, peak performance is just a state in which we turn towards our ability to do our best. And so, this could be any area of performance. So just tuning in this way and just give you a moment to bring to mind an area of performance, maybe an event that is coming up for you that's bringing you a little bit of stress. And now, as you think about this event, just noticing the story. What are you telling yourself about the event? What is coming up for you? So just paying attention to what are you telling yourself about it. And again, looking for some keywords: enough, if then, I am not. And as you do this, just practicing pause. So really pausing as you notice the story, the meaning that you're giving to the event. And then just allowing, A for allow, just allowing the event, allowing the story, the meaning. Bringing a sense of curiosity, playing detective a little bit. Noticing what happens when I believe this story. And now you for understanding. As you explore this, what is your understanding? What's happening in the body? What sensations are present? Is there a way where I can maybe prepare for this in a different way that's beneficial? What is this story trying to do for me? And now the S in pause is for strategy. What are some strategies that I can come up with that would help me, that would prepare me for this event? Any for expect. In some way, can I invite myself to just expect for the best possible outcome? Can I invite that expectation that everything will turn out just fine because I'm doing my best, because I'm giving it my all? And now inviting you to just taking a deep breath if that feels all right for you. And if not, just breathing up to your lung capacity. It doesn't have to be very deep, but just turning towards the breath and exhaling long. And I would like to invite you to bring into mind an event that doesn't stress you. Something that you know, I got it. I got this. I've done it a million times. This is fine. So, an event you're really comfortable with. An event that you've been maybe part of, has been maybe part of your performance, and it's just something that you're very familiar with. And let's run through the same scenario. So just pause here. Become aware of what you're telling yourself about this event. What is the story? Maybe I got this, maybe, oh, done this, been there, I can do this. I am good at this. Just noticing the shift here when you tell yourself a different story. And now you for understanding, the understanding of how you feel when you're telling yourself a self-enhancing story, even if the event is different and it's something that you're familiar with. As for strategy, what is the strategy that I've been familiar with during this event? How do I prepare for something that I know I can do, that I'm confident about, that I can run through effortlessly with deep concentration and ease? What is my strategy in this moment? E for expectation. So, expecting the best. What is it that you expect when you know that you got this? Expecting for the best outcome, expecting that you'll do the best. How do you feel when you expect this? And as you do this, as you practice this, you're taking in a deep breath again. Exhaling long and bringing your attention to your breathing. Noticing the muscles around the eyes and around the face. And at your own pace, if your eyes are closed, just allowing your eyes to open gently. I'd like to thank you for your practice. I'd like to thank you for your kind listening. And so I wanted to share this practice with you again. Every week we're building up. Next week we're going to be talking about gratitude for the story so we can move on into shifting stories. But for today, the idea is that with this practice, this meditation you can do on your own and learn to differentiate what does it feel like when I tell myself a limiting story. And what does it feel like for me? And what do I believe about my performance when I tell myself a self enhancing story? And really tuning in to the experience itself and how it feels in the body. So I'd love to hear any comments if you have any. And also invite you to tune in to, if you haven't reviewed session one, then I'd love to invite you to really explore. That was the word for session one. Just explore the session, see what comes up for you, and then you can practice this one as well. um, so I I wanted to also, besides thanking you, invite you to follow me on my profile if you wish, and then you can see this way if I do, if I am, when I'm coming live again, and when you can tune in and be with me again. It's been a pleasure to be with you again. And before, I think I'm seeing a question. So before we go, I'd love to address if there's any questions. So the pressure of the event causes me more anxiety. I found myself wanting to make a list of to-dos and not able to take the steps. What should I do? So the pressure of the event causes me more anxiety. I found myself, yes. Thank you so much for that. Of course, it's going to cause more anxiety. And this is the beauty of the story, that the story serves as explain the scenario, and in performance we're preparing for that big event before it happens. And so in this way you can tune in to what is this, how does it feel, and get really familiar with how that anxiety even feels in the body. And that could be really a daunting thought, but the more familiar we get to how we feel, the easier it's going to be for us to perform at our best. Because now it's like, oh, I know that always happens. My breath gets really fast, my chest starts pounding. Get really familiar with that, and then notice what it feels like when you tell yourself that story. And then next week we're going to have some gratitude for the story that would ease a lot of the anxiety that comes up with it. So I thank you so much for your kind attention again. Follow me my profile, and we'll be you'll be able to see when I'm coming on live again. So thank you.